Okay, so we continue with the last part of virtual machines, which is Linux vServer virtual machine architecture. So we see earlier we have Docker, we have Hypervisor 1, 2, and so on, type 1, type 2. Okay, and most efficient is if we are using Linux kernel. Okay, so then we have here vServer, the host OS is Linux, and the virtual machine also Linux. So in this case, then they can share the kernel. Okay, so that's the good thing on this one is they can share the kernel. Okay. So Linux vServer is an open source lightweight container based virtualization technology. So this lightweight container based, similar like Docker. Okay, designed for fast, efficient virtual machine creation on a single Linux host. So the host is one Linux machine. Okay, and then uses one shared Linux kernel for all virtual server. This is the key points. One shared Linux kernel for all virtual machine. Okay, so that can simplify, not simplify. Yeah, so when you update something, then you yeah, so when you update the kernel, then you can update the whole guest also. So you have the host, and then we have the guest is also Linux, okay, with the same version. Okay, so the architecture require only small kernel modification, include minimal set of userland tools for management configuration. So we can somehow trim down the requirement for the host Linux. Okay, so this one we trim down. Okay, and the kernel support multiple isolated virtual server, also called context or security context. So you can have isolated virtual server. Isolated means then it looks like that you have several machine. Okay, so one although it is connected to the one host, but it behave on its own. Okay, so the kernel manage CPU, the host kernel manage CPU, memory, file system, and network resource. And each virtual server run an isolated environment with its own process, users, and file system view. So it has its own user, it has its own. So if this is the host, and it has its own process. Okay, it has its own a user as well. It's just like a new Linux. Okay, it's like a new Linux. Okay, as no hypervisor layer, so all isolation is implemented through the Linux kernel enhanced security and resource mechanism. So that's why there's no you can say that there's no translation. You access directly the Linux kernel. Okay, the very low overhead, fast startup because you already fire up the kernel. Okay, and suitable for hosting many lightweight isolated environment on a single host. Okay. Yeah, so this is the vServer architecture. There are four pillars for isolation mechanism. You can see here you have you have admin that manage all and VM number one until VM number n. Okay, so you have chroot. This file system isolation by redefining the root directory for each virtual server. So it has its own root. This is the root. Okay, this is the root, and this one has the root. Context create a unique security context per VM for process isolation. So process here will be isolated from process here. Okay. And bind a VM to a specific IP address for complete network isolation. So you have its own IP address, IP1 and IPN. Okay, so each one has its own IP address. Okay, and the capabilities restrict root privilege per VM for privilege isolation. Okay, so although you have root, but the root is only behave on its own server. Okay, on server 1, server 2, and so on. Okay. So each VM run inside its own execution context, invisible to others, like this one. This server cannot see this process, okay? Because they have separate file system trees, process tables, and network identities. Even yeah, so you can see that you have different IP address, and even in the memory you have separate VM1, VM2. Okay, you have separated memory. Okay. The system structure is like this one. You have hosting platform, which is the shared Linux OS image plus base system libraries. So even the libraries can be shared, not only the kernel, but the libraries can be shared. So you don't need to install printing library, for example. You can reuse whatever it's there on the host Linux. Okay. Privileged host VM handles administration and monitoring. So you have the host, this number 0. Okay, that's the host. Okay, so then you can have a virtual machine number 1 until number n, and each machine can independently boot, run, reboot, or shut down. Okay, the key benefit, very efficient. Yeah, this is the same like previously, and strong isolation. Okay, now let's see how about the scheduling. What is the scheduling? If you remember, uh, we have first come, first serve is something like this. Okay. And we have, oh, we don't put that. We have something called fair share scheduling. Okay. So this is in one computer. Okay, in one computer. Let's say you are accessed by multiple user. So this is the mainframe, and you are activate by multiple user. Okay. So user 1 is opening process A, user B opening B and C. Okay. To make it fair, what will happen? You are not doing user 1, user 2. You are not doing A, B, C. Because if you are doing that, what will happen? User A will get 1/3. User B will have 2/3. Can you follow? Yeah, so user A we have 1/3 and B will be 2/3. Okay, 2/3. Okay, because twice. So to make it fair, okay, you run user to run two process. Okay, to make it fair, then it will be take turns. User one, user two, user one. So to make it fair, user one, user two, user one, user two. So what is that? A, okay, then B, then A again, then C. Now you can see this is what you call, you got the A, B back run later on. Okay, A, C. So and this is also twice. Okay, so you can feel that you have this is the CPU time. A will got this portion. B and C need to user two need to share. Okay, user two need to share there. Okay, so one at a time. Okay, so yeah, so this is fair share scheduling. Okay, okay. Now you can see how we can we have Linux host, and then we have several virtual machine. Okay. So the standard Linux scheduler treats all process globally. Means that if you have run 10 process, then it will run what you call, it does not matter. This one only run two process. This one will be penalized. Okay, because it's only run two process. It will be penalized. So to make it fair, something like this, like fair share scheduling earlier. Okay. So resource hungry VM, resource hungry means it opens so many process, could starve process in other VM. Okay, so this one, the first virtual machine, for example, running or a lot of using a lot of memories. Okay, okay. Then we have some process scheduling core TBF, token bucket filter for fair CPU distribution across filter server. Okay. So each VM has a token bucket, so it's given a token. So if, for example, if I have two process only, you can divide the token half-half. Okay, half-half. Your portion is this much. Okay, your portion is another this much. Okay, and tokens added at R tokens every T interval. So you have you get the refill every R of a T. Okay, so you get a refill again. So if bucket is full, extra token are decided. Okay, for example, if process VM2 is idle, not doing anything, that's okay. Okay, it will not what you call, it will not be idle in here. Okay, it can be reused for other virtual machine. Okay, so the CPU consumption rule for this token bucket filter, when a process run, it consume one token per clock tick. Okay, so one process run, one token. So you have limited resources that you want to share. Okay. If bucket becomes empty, means you don't have any more resources to run. The VM is paused or held. So in this case, this one will be fair. Okay. So for example, this one are using 10, so it reuse all the buckets very fast. So you need to wait later on to VM number 2 and other VM to finish. Okay, while this refilling again the bucket. So every time waiting pause, then it will refill again the bucket. Okay. So VM resume only when tokens reach a minimum threshold of M. Okay. So if you have minimum threshold of M, if it run. If not, then it will wait until you are filling again the token. Fill again, fill again, fill again. Then reach minimum, then you can run the process. Otherwise, it will be paused or held. Okay. So the VM can accumulate tokens during idle period. Yeah. So when you idle, then you can accumulate, you can fill in the tokens, the money, the coins. Okay. So accumulated tokens allow bursty performance when needed. Bursty means like this. This is the burst. Very high consumption in within short time. Okay. This one is allow. Okay. This one is allow as long as you don't use all the tokens. This one is fine. Okay. As long as you don't use the token. Okay. So you can use something like this. You can see if you this is the token. This is 110. So this is 10. Or you can use not in burst. Okay, 10 times 1. Okay, so this one is not in burst. Okay, so this is burst usage. This is maybe a normal usage. Okay. Okay. So how do we calculate the parameters? We have R, T, S, and M. Fraction of CPU allocation. For example, if you have here 1 quarter of a CPU, or that what I see, it means that you have 4 virtual machine, and then everyone here divided 1 quarter. Okay, so when you add, become 1. Okay, 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 equal to 1. Or what you call configuration 1/4 plus 112. This one's okay. So it means that you put more tokens to the more rate. You give more for this one. For example, this the virtual machine number 3 is important. This is web server. Okay, that serve all the clients. Okay, then you need to allocate more here. Okay. Yeah, so for example, you have 1/4. When you add, it should be 1 because that's the CPU that you have. Okay. The purpose of SNMM, S is the bucket size. This is the control the burst capacity. Or again, the burst is the high demand in very short time. Okay. MA minimum refill threshold. So you need to fill in the minimum first in order to run even the burst. Okay, the burst process. Okay, so you need to wait first, fill in, put some water, not some water, put some coin, some coin until you reach M, then you can do the burst. Okay. So these parameters will penalize VM after excessive burst use. Even it is very short time, but if it's take high computation, as I mentioned earlier, like this is the same. Whether you are burst or you are normal, all we have time 10 centimeter square. Okay. Okay. How to compute M and S? So let's say we have W scheduler frequency, decision per second. B is allowed burst time. How much is allowed? H is hold time after burst. So this is burst time, how much is allowed, and then this is H, hold time. After the burst, you need to hold, okay? And R over T is VM CPU share, something like this, R over T, okay? And yeah, okay, sorry. Okay, so if I have formula later on in the final exam, I'll give you the formula. Okay, so calculate the desired value of S and M if we have M like this. Okay, so for example, we have a VM with a limit of half processor time. This one will be half. We put emphasize R over T. Again, we wish to say that after using the processor for 30 seconds, this is the burst. There will be a whole time of 5 seconds. Okay, the schedule runs at 100 Hertz. So you can calculate. W is 1000, H hold is 5 seconds, and R over T is half. So the minimum token is 2500. Okay. And S will be W 1000 times B. B is the burst for 30 seconds. and then 1 minus over 3, this is the what you call the remaining 1 minus 0.5. Okay, so if you have, for example, r over t is equal to 1 over 4, and this one will be 3 over 4. So this is the remaining, the requested, the required, the bucket size. Okay, so the bucket size for this one is 15,000. Okay, so that's the M and the S. Okay, using bus and the H. Okay. Yeah, so this is the difference between token bucket filter with the C groups. Okay, C group quota is quota per period. The prime purpose control VM CPU. This one enforce strict CPU limits. A mechanism token accumulate. You keep adding the token minimum, then you can do the burst. Okay, the task can run up to quota every. So this is based on time, like a round robin. Okay, 1 second switch, 1 second switch, 1 second switch. Okay, this support bursts when unused token accumulate. As long as you reach minimum, then you can use for the burst, the 30 second. Okay, little or no burst, quota reset for each period. Okay, so if not used, then you can accumulate until it is full. When full, then there's no penalty. Okay. And yeah, so this fairness, this is used in Linux scheduler. This one can be overlay on OS scheduler. Means that on top of Linux scheduler, then you can use the TBF. Okay, this VMwide, this is for C group. So the throttle baby when token empty, and then it will be throttle. You need to idle. Okay, when quota exhausted, then you need to wait until next period. Okay, you have the more parameters here. This is simple parameter. Use case for VM scheduling. This for Docker, Kubernetes, and so on. Allow unpredictable short bursts, highly predictable deterministic throttling. Okay, so good for workload that need occasionally heavy bursts. So for example, you are using web server, suddenly you have so many users, so you can use the token bucket filter. Okay. Okay, so this is the virtual machine. Remember that we have discussed the virtualizations. We have discussed the virtual machines. Then virtual machine and the monitor and hypervisor. We have type 1 by bare metal, runs directly on hardware, high efficiency and isolation. Type 2 is hosted, run on top of a host OS, easier to deploy but less efficient. Okay, it's a bit easier. Here you need to have your own driver. Java Virtual Machine is not a system, not a virtualizer actually, but it provides a runtime environment for Java bytecode. So you have the same Java bytecode, so you can run Java. Remember the motto of Java is write once and run everywhere. Okay, run once and run everywhere. So you can, yeah. So you it run anywhere. Okay, across different OS and hardware platforms. So you can run Java bytecode in Linux, Windows, Mac OS, and so on. Okay, this focus on application portability, not always hardware emulation. Okay. Okay, so this is the virtualization. We have finished this. Any question before I move on? Amal, Sister Nima.
I think I'm okay.
Okay, Sister Nima. Okay.
Yeah, Prof.
Okay. Okay. So let's move on. I think I haven't upload. If not, then I will upload again. Okay. Let's move on to this one. So whatever I share here is based on the book by what was the William Stalling. Okay, it's to the latest edition 2019. Okay, so you might have additional advancement. So that's why after this, then we will discuss the paper. Okay, in which your assignment will be I will give you the paper and you need to present the paper in 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes only. Okay, you need to understand the paper and present to me in 10 minutes. Okay. Okay,
Okay.
so let's move on the cloud and IoT operating system. So this one will be the last part of our advanced OS. Okay, so what's the content? The cloud computing. What is cloud computing? We have the elements. This based on some standard cloud service models, how to deploy the cloud, computing reference architecture that can be reused for different cloud provider, whether you are doing in Google, in Amazon, or in what the Microsoft one. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Okay. So okay. So then we have the cloud operating system itself. So everything will be in the cloud, and we have infrastructure as a service. So this is IIS. Okay. And requirement for cloud operating system, general architecture of a cloud operating system, and we have some open source standard. This is open source standard, OpenStack. Okay. And then the one that's related with the cloud is IoT, okay, Internet of Things. What is the thing on the Internet of Things? The evolutions from the what you call WSN wireless sensor network to the IoT. Okay, components of IoT enabled device and IoT cloud context. Okay. The last one is we are talking about IoT, and this is the IoT operating system, the consent device, requirement for IoT operating system, IoT architecture, and one of the open source is Riot. Okay. Okay, the learning objective for this chapter examine the fundamental concept and architecture. So we have concept and architecture of cloud computing. Okay, we will refer to NIST. Okay, reference framework. And second one, describe the role and architecture of cloud operating system. Okay, we have IaaS and OpenStack. Then we go to the IoT and the evolution characteristic and component of IoT. Okay, and what's the difference between cloud and fog computing environments? Okay, and evaluate the requirement and design principle of IoT operating system, including constant device constraints, IoT architecture, and Riot. Okay, okay. So let's see the cloud computing. So this is from the NIST, National Institute of Standard and Technology, I think. Yeah. So the US, they have the number here. You don't need to memorize this. Okay. This is NIST-SP. It means that as an engineer, normally we have some reference. Okay. And one of the reference can be from the standard here, NIST, ITU standard, and maybe national standard, international standard. Okay. So the cloud computing by definition, okay, you can have vary the definition, but this is the definition by NIST, a model for enabling ubiquitous convenience on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resource, networks, server, storage, application, service. This from the low end to the high end. The networks can be shared, servers, storage, even application, and the service. Okay, then can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort or service provider interaction. So this cloud model promote availability and is composed of 5 essential characteristics. So we're going to see that 5, 3 service models, and 4 deployment models. Okay. If you go to iTalim, the name here is iTalim C, IIUM Edumai. Okay. My wife was working on this iTalim. Okay. Moving to the cloud, they are using the Microsoft Azure. That is the Azure, Microsoft Azure. Okay, so what happened here, because this is the cloud, this depends. So when we are doing the quiz, okay, when we are doing the quiz, it can it can see the usage, okay, usage. Okay, if the iTalim usage is above some certain threshold, it can open another copy, okay, to serve. Okay, of course it will be more
She
expensive.
was,
Yeah.
sorry,
So
is she her wife a software developer, bro?
yeah.
She was a software developer?
No. Director CPD, Center Professional Development, that handling the iTalim.
Okay.
Okay. So she's also a Moodle certificate, so he know how to. This is based on Moodle, so she can configure the Moodle. Okay. This based on Moodle. So if you are the usage is 50%, they can open another server. Okay. If below 40%, then you can close this. Okay, so remember that we charge based on the service. Okay, so I think around per year we pay around, I'm not sure, okay, but roughly around 250,000 ringgit, okay, per year. Okay. Okay, so the cloud computing essential characteristic. Remember, we have five essential, three service model, and four deployment models. Okay, so yeah, this one. Yeah, we have this. So we have five essential characteristic. One, two, three, four, and five. Okay, broad network access, rapid elasticity, measured service, on-demand self-service, resource pooling. Okay, broad network access. So services are reachable via standard mechanism from diverse device, can be accessed by mobile, laptop, or thin clients. So depends. Yeah, you can reuse iTalim in your phone or in laptop, for example. Okay. Rapid elasticity means resource expand or shrink automatically based on workload. This is what I said earlier. Okay, if the iTalim reach some threshold, it can open another one. If below threshold, then it can close. Okay. Measured service. So you say, of course, monitored, method, optimized, because this is related with the charge later on. Okay, the amount that you need to pay. Okay, the money that you need to pay for usage. Okay. On-demand self-service, consumer provision compute, storage, and network resource without human intervention. This is also, how do you know the threshold? It will have the software to monitor. Okay, so it will be too late. For example, if you are doing the quiz mainly on midnight or after office hour, and nobody will open manually. Okay, so it will be automatic. Okay, it will open another virtual machine in automatic. On-demand self-service, resource pooling. You have shared multi-tenant resource pools, dynamically allocated with location abstraction. Okay, means that it does not matter where is it. Okay, maybe if the resources in Malaysia is full, they can use resource in Singapore. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay. And also, if last time during COVID, if many students are accessing from Middle East, for example, and it can open the iTalim in Middle East. Okay, the copy of iTalim in Middle East. Okay, then we have three service model: software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. So you need to pay with the infrastructure, pay the platform, or pay the software. Okay. Deployment model, for deployment model, public, private, hybrid, or community. Okay, so the deployment public can be accessed by anyone, or private for your own company. Hybrid in between, some are hybrid, some are private. We use it also in the university. Okay, the website, for example, is public, but anything inside will be private. Okay, iTalim is private. You cannot access unless you have. No, iTalim is a public. Okay, but you have something like what you use to access your student information system, iMaklum, for example. That will be private. Okay. Okay. The cloud service models, we have five essential characteristics. We have three service model. Okay. So this is the traditional IT on-premise. This is traditional. So you can do application, data, runtime, middleware, OS, virtualization, server, storage, networking. Okay. This all managed by customer. Okay. This one is all managed by customer. And then infrastructure as a service, this infrastructure is provided by the provider, okay, but the rest is by the customer, okay. Then you have here platform as a service. A platform, you are only focused on application and data. This one is by the service provider. This software as a service, everything is by the provider. Okay, so you can see the evolution. Okay, from the fully managed by customer, and then fully managed by the provider, service provider. Okay, so software as a service, this one is the highest actually. A complete application for the internet. You access software through a web browser. No installation, maintenance, or upgrade required. Okay, because it will be maintained by the service provider. So ideal for email, for the application. Moodle also, yeah, the iTalim is on this software as a service. Okay, because application, and we just access that, and then we have some backup of iTalim. Okay. Yeah, so Gmail here, Salesforce, Webex. Zoom also. Platform as a service. So cloud provider platform for deploying custom application. So you create your own application and data and you are deploy there. Okay. So but you don't manage the runtime middleware OS. If the OS need upgrade, it's not your job. Okay, it's the provider job. Okay. So for example, here Google App Engine, Heroku, Azure, Force.com. Okay. Infrastructure as a service, the cloud provide virtualized hardware resource. Okay, so up to this. Okay, this is the provider up to here. So user control the OS that they want to install. They can install anything. Normally Ubuntu or no, normally the Linux. Okay, but it can be also Windows Server and so on. Okay. Self-provision compute, storage, and networking. So example, Amazon EC2, Azure VM, virtual machine, Google Compute Engine, Rackspace. Okay, so start from infrastructure, then go to the software as a service. Okay. So the last one will be deployment models. Okay, for this cloud computing. The four most prominent deployment models: public, private, community, hybrid. Okay, or hybrid first then community. Yeah. So public cloud, the cloud service are offered to the general public by the provider. So fully managed by external cloud vendors, multi-tenants. You have various tenants, not only company A, but many companies. So this is outside enterprise firewall. So the firewall is on the public. Okay, it can penetrate if you have the what you call the privacy data. Maybe you don't want to go to the public. Okay, but the strength is low cost. Of course, you're doing public, highly scalable. Okay, minimal managements. Okay, lower surface level agreement guarantees. Security and compliance remain user responsibility. Still the user responsibility. AWS, okay, Google Cloud Apps, Yahoo Mail, social storage. This is public cloud. Okay, the private cloud, the cloud infrastructure operate exclusive for one organization only. So you are rent for in cloud. Okay, for this support for internal infrastructure and software as a service, email on demand, storage on demand. So for example, instead of you are using Google Drive, okay, you are using your own drive. Okay, it's not Google Drive, not OneDrive, but your own company drive for stronger security and full control of our data location. You can say that I want this in Malaysia, okay, or you want this on in Europe because Europe has a good GDP, data protection, a good data protection. Okay. And you can have community cloud infrastructure shared by organization with common requirements. Okay, this is the community. So we have several NGO, and you have a common, or you have several the similar company, and then you are doing the community. Okay, so yeah, this example healthcare institution sharing a secure service. Okay, the last one is hybrid cloud. Is a mix of two or more clouds, public, private, community, link for portability. So some sensitive workload will be private, other use public cloud for cost saving. Okay, so enables cloud bursting for load balancing, attractive for SME, needing both flexibility and security. Flexibility from the public, security from the private. Okay, so you need to balance, you have the trade-off. Okay, so we have seen 5 essential characteristics, uh, 3 service models, and 4 deployment models. Okay. Yeah, so this is the examples. Okay. In the table, similar like I explained earlier. Okay. Then we move on to cloud computing reference architecture. This again NIST. We have NIST this number. You don't need to memorize this number. Okay, I will not ask the number. Okay, you can refer back later on. It's easy. Okay, so NIST cloud computing reference architecture. This is the reference. It said that the focus on the requirement of what cloud service provide, not how to. How to is this is company secret. The way you implement is up to the company. You can find more efficient. Whether you want to put your data center in the snowy mountain, so you need a cooling system, or under the water. It's not the water stand reference architecture do. Okay, the what just explain what is the cloud computing reference architecture, but how to, it depends on the company. It can be also the trade secret. Okay. the company secret. Yeah, so the front architect is intended to facilitate the understanding of the operational intricacies in cloud computing. Is not to represent the system architecture of a specific cloud computing system. So this one provide the umbrella. Okay, it is a tool for describing, discussing, and developing a system-specific architecture using a common framework of reference. This is the keyword. Okay, common what you call common framework reference. Okay, sorry, let me close this. Okay. 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 Now, so this is the NIS cloud reference architecture. We have the cloud carrier. Cloud consumer is here. We have cloud provider. And we have another term called cloud broker, that brokering between the consumer and provider. Okay. So we have another one, which is the cloud auditor for security audit, privacy impact audit, performance audit. We have cloud service management and handling the cloud provider need to handle also security and privacy. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the objective on NIC reference is clarify cluster within a unified conceptual model. So you have a unified one common umbrella or common reference. Okay, provide a common technical vocabulary. So what does it means? What does mean by CSC? What does mean by CSP? Need to be defined. Okay, so that we can talk. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm trying to obtain PMT, Project Management Professional. Okay, and the book is on the management. They have the common language to talk. So this is also similar. When you define a cloud reference, you don't say anything unless it is defined by the common framework. Otherwise, it will be confused. You are talking with this language, the other talking with different language. It has different meaning, okay, and so on. So it will be not good for implementation, even for implementation later on. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is the objective of NISS reference. The five major actors. Okay, what's the major actor? The first one, cloud service consumer, CSC. Okay, this is the one that use cloud service and maintain a business relation with providers. CSP is the cloud service provider. They create, manage, and deliver cloud service to consumer. We have number three, cloud auditor. This number three, cloud auditor performs independent assessment of operation performance and security. So this audit, okay, the CSP said, I guarantee you this service, but customer said, no, I didn't receive that service. This the role of auditor. Okay, the auditor then can verify, can audit, and so on. Okay, and we have a cloud broker, manage service usage and relationship between CSP and consumer. There's brokering between the provider and consumer, optimize delivery and performance. Okay, and the number five is cloud carrier. This is number five. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. Cloud carrier. Okay, provide the network connectivity and transport that enable service to reach the customer. Remember that cloud computing is on the cloud. Okay, so you need to have infrastructure to connect, whether you're using fiber optic, whether you are using 5G networks. Okay, there's the cloud carrier. Okay, there's the enabler also. So there will be no cloud if there is no cloud carrier. Okay, there will be no cloud. Okay. Okay. Okay, roles in cloud service delivery. The cloud service provide responsibility. The CSP, the cloud service provider, like Google, Amazon, Microsoft Azure, deliver cloud service, whether it is in the software as a service, platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service, and provide the required storage, processing, and interface. Okay, this the SaaS. They successfully deploy, configure, maintain, and update application. This is similar like previous PaaS and IS. So what's the difference? This one. This is the difference. Okay. IS is the provider maintain up to this, platform up to this. Okay, and if your software as a service, then the whole thing here. Okay, of course you need to pay more here. Okay. Okay, so let's move on. Then other cloud actors, cloud carrier. Yeah, this is the same thing. Cloud broker. You provide service intermediation identity management, reporting security, service aggregation. You combine multiple cloud service into Invo solution. So you can buy from Google, you can buy from Amazon, you can buy from Azure, and then they can aggregate. Okay, you can combine that. Okay. Service arbitrage, dynamically selecting among provider to for best performance or cost. So not necessarily you will be tied to like Talim, they tied to Azure. If you have the cloud broker, then you can reuse. If normal period, maybe this one is more cost effective. If what you call the busy period, maybe you are using other provider for more cost effective. Okay. And the last one, of course, the cloud auditor. It will provide evaluate security, privacy, and performance. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is the interaction between actors in cloud computing. Remember that we have five. Carrier is the one that connecting between the consumer and producer. Okay, then we have broker, audit, and carrier. Okay, so interaction in the cloud niche cloud architecture. Consumer request service directly from a cloud provider through a cloud broker. This one. Okay. Cloud editor enable evaluate cloud operation and may contact any actor to collect required information. So the actor can be this or this, okay, or this. Okay. So there are three actor. Sorry, the auditor. Yeah. So can contact this one, or this one. Okay. Yeah, so this interaction rely on three distinct network domains, so each with different consent, whether you are on data center side, consumer side, or transport layer side. Okay, so the data center side, you put the high performance server and storage in multi-rack architecture. This is the cloud provider network in data center. So high speed top of rack switching. So you evaluate that. Remember this is the audit. Okay, we are talking about the audit here. Okay, this is the audit. Okay, the key concern VM placement and migration. We audit how they place or migrate if necessary the virtual machine. Load balancing. Okay, and availability. Okay, and enterprise network. This is the consumer side. This one. Okay, data center is in here. Okay, data center. This is enterprise network or consumer side. Okay, mix of LAN, server, PC, workstation, mobile device. So they audit that. See whether you have the secure access. You can scalable. If you have more more computer, what will happen? If you have more user, what will happen? And policy enforcement. Okay. And the last one is the audit cloud carrier network transport layer. This one, you audit this. Okay. So must support virtual network, service level agreement guarantees. We are using MyRAN. If you can read the what you call the email message, sometimes they have down and so on. Okay. Different from previously, we are using time. Time provide a good SLA, but I think this is cheaper, so that's why the university use the MyRAN. Okay. And end-to-end security. Of course, you need to provide the end-to-end security here. Okay, so this is the interaction between actors in cloud computing. Okay, this one especially on the audit part. Okay, okay. So okay, let me discuss this, and then after that we have a break for IoT. Okay, the OpenStack cloud operating system. Okay, so this is the cloud operating system. This is open source. So what is cloud operating system? Is a distributed operating system running in the cloud provider's data center. So cloud provider means that you are running in Google, you are running in Amazon Azure, and sorry, Amazon and Microsoft Azure. Okay, it manage high performance server, networking, and storage, and deliver this as infrastructure as a service. Okay, we have IaaS, software what as platform as a service and software as a service. Okay, so we have three level. Okay, so what's the difference between Cloud OS and PaaS? PaaS, remember platform as a service. You need to install. The OS is managed by the user also. This one you can see here. This PaaS. Okay, this is PaaS. This one managed by the user. Okay, sorry, this one managed by the cloud service provider. Okay, and let's see what's the difference. Okay, so the PS is user visible platform, so user can see. Okay, for developing and running application include tools, runtime, and middleware. Customer deploy their own application. This PaaS, remember that software and app application. Cloud Cloud OS is provider side infra software, implement IIS, manage compute storage and networking resources, remain mostly transparent to cloud user, transparent. You can see, but you cannot change. Okay, so user on OS run on top of the OS provided by the cloud OS, so you can use also your own OS. Okay. So, let's move on to this one. Infrastructure as a service. Okay, so it means that from the OS up to the apps. Okay, so what is IaaS? IaaS provide virtualized compute, storage, and networking as on-demand resource. As it is on demand, so you can add, you can remove, okay, and you can shut down, you can open, you can close. Okay. So hypervisors host multiple virtual machines, which user can configure with any OS or application stack they choose. Okay. So the user responsibility, this is cloud service consumer, and this is cloud service provider CSP. Okay, so this is you, and this one is Google, Amazon, or Microsoft Azure, for example. Okay, so it can manage computing resource, storage resource, or network resource. Okay, and the interface is on the portal. Okay. So full control over operating user responsibility, full control of operating system, storage, and deployed application. Of course, you need to pay that. Okay. IaaS. Okay. You have full control of OS, storage, and deploy application. Limited control over select network component. For example, host firewall. You have here on the network side, you have host firewall. You cannot configure this. Okay. This one will configure by the service provider. Okay. The provider responsibility, provisioning and managing virtual resources. You have three at least: network, storage, and computing. So ensuring access, performance, and availability. You have the service level agreement. And managing life cycle, monitoring, and recovery option. In the moment that is, you need to have normally the cloud provider, they have the backup. Okay, so if one is down, then you can reuse. Similar like iTalim, last 2 week we have Cloudflare down. Okay, so the iTalim was broken because they cannot connect to the database. Okay, so it based on the DNS translation to connect to the database, and the Cloudflare is down, then you cannot connect, then it crash. Okay, but luckily they have the backup. Then we can reuse back the iTalim. Okay. So IaaS is not just virtualization. Remember that we have OS until up to the apps. Okay, virtualization alone is not infrastructure as a service. IaaS require advanced management capabilities because you need to have VM migration. You need to migrate, or you can extend monitoring and availability management, self-service provisioning. Self-service means you can, but of course you need to pay. If you need more, then you can add more. If you need less, then you can close it. Okay, we'll pay less. Okay, lifecycle orchestration. Okay, and usage metering and chargeback. Okay, you can, we can, yeah. So of course you need to measure how many you use and how many you will be charged. Okay. There are three key interaction. First one is access provisioning via CSP portal. This one, number one. Okay. So the consumer securely access the portal and retrieve our function. So it's using the portal, or you can use number three also. Okay. And CSC select an infrastructure and template and request creation. Okay. And CSC manage the lifecycle of the infrastructure. The consumer itself manage how to assign, modify, and release the resource. Okay. Number two is resource configuration. CSC, the consumer, cloud service consumer, choose VM or host template and select and attach storage resources, block, file, and object. Okay, the storage resources can be block, can be file, can be object as well. Okay, the CSC also configure the network service. Here, the IP, virtual LAN, firewall. It can have its own firewall. It can have its own load balancer, but you have host firewall here. Okay, this is managed by the cloud service provider. Okay. So CSV review and confirm SLA and the charging model. So if you agree, then you can continue. If not agree, then you can negotiate. Okay. Interaction number three is operation and management. This is number three. So CSC monitor, the consumer monitor, manage compute, storage, and network for the application. The provider will be deploy and maintain hypervisors and storage infrastructure. I need means that it need to provide the cooling. It need to provide the electricity. You need to update the software if necessary, if there is some patch and so on. Okay. And the provider deliver and support network connectivity, and provider also provide and maintain the security infrastructure. So that's why this one managed by the provider, the host firewall. Okay. Okay. So the requirement for cloud operating system must manage and deliver infrastructure as a service by providing the consumer with secure, flexible access to compute, storage, and network resource. And we have a definition ITU-T. ITU-T International Telecommunication Union TY3513. This is another standard, that we have at least come across two standards, NAST and ITU-T, International Telecommunication Union. Okay. The scope of Cloud OS general function. Okay. Computing service, storage service, network service. Remember that we have these three. Okay, computing, storage, network. Okay, so that's the functional scope. Okay. Okay, yeah. So this is in the table. The similar thing: general, computing service, storage, and network service. Okay. So this is the general architecture of a cloud operating system. So you have physical infrastructure, you have the cloud OS, okay, and you have the application. Okay. So the Cloud OS use virtualization to deliver compute, storage, and network resource through an IaaS environment. This infrastructure as a service. It abstract complex physical infrastructure and expose service through API. So this is the service through API or GUI. Okay. The key architecture layers, physical infrastructure. You have standard high volume server. Okay. High volume storage. And high-speed Ethernet switch. Okay, so this is the physical infrastructure. High volume server, you have many server here, 1, 2, 3 in a racks. Storage also you can have here a combination of multiple hard drive in RAID 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, and of course you have here the high volume Ethernet switch. It can connect this one multiply, or you can provide like in server normally you have two Ethernet. This one connect two here. If one server requires two, then you can imagine how many. If you have 100, then you need to have 200. Okay. Okay. Then we have hypervisor layer number 2, physical layer, hypervisor layer, virtualized physical resource. So you have virtualization there. Then in which you can create the VM, virtual storage, and virtual networks, enable resource isolation and efficient allocation. And then we have the cloud OS layer. You have API and UI as an entry point for provisioning and managing resource. So normally you are managing using the API. So you access the API and then you create and you destroy or you manage, measure, monitor, and so on using API. Or the best GUI, okay, using the web web application as well. Okay. The Cloud OS layer, you have database and object storage, management and orchestration, how to manage all the things here, and virtual computing, virtual storage, this is the three main thing that we virtualize. Okay, deliver as infrastructure as service components. And the last one, we have application layer. Okay. Okay, the virtualization in cloud operating system is decouple software from the hardware. Remember, this is the virtualization, so you can have different hardware, but you have virtualization, it can work. Okay, the convert traditional dedicated server into virtualized resources. So you have one big server, and then you can virtualize, install different OS, for example, different configuration. One has 16 gigabyte RAM, one have 4 gigabyte RAM, and so on. Okay, it allows also dynamic scaling. Okay, you can add or reduce, depends. Okay. The cloud hardware will be standard server, network attached, and Ethernet switch, and that will be the cloud hardware. The hardware you need to have server, the storage, and the Ethernet. Okay, So hypervisor run on this to create all these three. Okay, virtual machine, virtual storage, virtual network. Okay, the roles and control of CI provider, the own physical hardware, control the hypervisor layer, and enforce policies for VM creation and resource allocation. For example, you enforce maximum you can have for CPU is 4. Then you cannot go beyond 4, for example. Okay. Maximum is 8 GB, then maximum will be actually 8 GB. Okay. The consumer will request and control guest OS only. Okay. After you install, and you can build custom virtual network using provider exposed features. Okay. So yeah, so you can create virtual network for your own virtual machine. Okay. So virtual computing mean the CPU and memory mainly. Okay, so virtual computing manage virtual machines within the IS environment. So each VM acts a compute instance. So you just create 1, 2, 3. Okay, then it integrate with the cloud OS. Okay, the key components CPU and memory. So execute the virtual machine instruction using the processor and RAM. Okay. You have the internal storage, local non-volatile memory within the server caches, accelerator. You can have for security, networking, packet processing. Okay, or you can have the GPU, external storage. You can also access to storage service or server attached, not the NAS. So the server can attach also some additional hard drive. Okay. So the integration with the Cloud OS provide interface for communication with other Cloud OS modules and API GUI layer for the user. Okay, we have virtual computing, we have virtual storage to deliver data storage service. Okay, remember we have the computing, storage, and the last one will be network. Okay, so the key functions store cloud management data, provide working storage. Okay, and support storage mechanism, workload migration. If this one is too full, then you can migrate to others. Okay, automated backup. If you are using the red one, for example, it automatically backup, and this is important because you don't want to lose your important data. Version control. If you are doing edit some document, you keep saving the previous document. Okay, so if user want to go back, then you can go back to that earlier documents. Okay. And you can have also optimized storage for specific application because maybe one needs the capacity, one needs the speed. So you can optimize the storage. Okay. And then you have to ensure isolation of each consumer data across different workload. Okay. So the type supported will be direct attach storage. So you attach directly to the server local. You attach using the not USB. You have the PCIe Express PCI Express connection. Okay, or you can use a storage area network. This one you use the Ethernet. Okay, high performance block-based. This block-based shared storage ideal for large data center database intensive workload. Or you can have a network attached storage, file-based shared storage appliance with RAID protection. Okay, the cloud OS capability must integrate SAN and NAS. SAN is this one, and NAS, and provide transparent access to consumer without exposing underlying technology. So you can access it, but you hidden what is the software installed. Okay. Yeah, so this is the difference between SAN versus NAS. The storage area network block level storage present to servers as if locally attached, based for high performance scalable shareable storage, ideal for database intensive and mission critical application. If you're using Shopee, or you are in the bank, or you are in or providing service to the airline, for example, you need to have SAN. Okay. Use dedicated high-speed network fiber channel. This optic using the fiber optic. Okay, connect it directly. Okay. Support large bandwidth and long rack-to-rack distance in data center. Okay, this is storage area network. Network attached storage. This one file level storage access over standard IP network. I remember this one is using special dedicated high-speed network. Okay, usually the optical fiber. Okay, so you need to install the optical connection in your computer, in your server, and then connect to the this one storage area network. Okay, so this one appear as shared folder for multiple heterogeneous client. It can include RAID and data protection features. Just configure which RAID that you want. Okay, So the key difference, Sun will be box storage, high performance enterprise database. NAS will be file storage, share access, general purpose workload. So if you want, if you are not mission critical, use NAS. If it is mission critical, use SAN. Okay, storage area network. Okay, so this is the visualization. Okay, so this is the consumer workstation, and this is the infrastructure network, and this is ultra high speed switch or switch network, and this is the SAN storage subsystem. Okay, the difference is you go to here, okay, and you go to this one. Okay, in the NAS, this is another NAS. Okay, so you have the same CSP infrastructure network. There's no dedicated connection. You just use the same here and connect to the NAS number 1, NAS number 2. Okay. Okay, so remember that we have block and file storage. So this is the data structure management in Cloud OS. Block protocol, you can ISCI, file protocol, network file system, or SMB, shared multiple block as number is Windows, this is in Linux, and you have object protocol using API. Okay. Traditional SAN is using this one. Traditional NAS is this one. They are using files and folder. You have the three storage structure, whether you have block, file, or object storage. Okay, so each optimized for different workload. Okay, block storage, SAN or dedicated storage. So data store a fixed size block on this high performance. Support snapshot, mirroring, and copy on write. This is while you copy, you can write also. Okay, for resiliency. So if somehow the electricity is down, so you still have the copy there. Okay, so you don't wait. Okay, appear to serve as raw disk with no file system. So this one is block storage. File storage you have already configured as files. Okay, so data structure is file in directories, access versus NVS or SMB in Windows, or HTTP using web access. Okay, simple, easy to scale, but the cons is slower than this, and cloning is difficult. Okay, the third one is object storage. Use a flat address space that not directories. Okay, so you have a flat address space. Okay, one object. So if object includes data, metadata, unique object ID, so you are accessed via HTTP only or API. Okay, this is designed for massive scalability. Cloud Archive, for example, objects are immutable, cannot change, read only. So new version are created rather than modified. So if you want to modify, you create another version. Okay. So this one allows security and policy to be tightly bound to each object. Okay, so you can provide different security policies. Okay, so I'll stop here first, and we break for 5 minutes, then we'll continue. Okay, inshallah. Let me.
Okay, inshallah.
Okay, so pause the recording. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, now management orchestration this is C, orchestration Mano in Cloud OS. Okay, how do we orchestrate? Okay, so the purpose of Mano is control, coordinate, and manage the entire IS environment. We have computing, we have storage, we have network. So ensuring cloud service are proficient, efficiently, and constantly for consumers. And again, we have a NIST definition, U.S. Government Cloud Computing Technology Roadmap Volume 1, 2014. Maybe they have Volume 2 and so on. Okay. The key menu function, orchestration, install and configure network service, a new network service. Okay. Manage full network service lifecycle, perform global resource management, validate and authorize resource requests, manager, oversee lifecycle of VM instances, create, start, scaling, delete. Okay. In scaling means you increase the CPU, you increase the memory, and so on. Okay. And infrastructure managers. Okay, so you manage at least the three resources: computing, storage, and network. So you manage interaction. You can create more storage. Previously on virtual machine number 1, you have only one drive, drive C, then you can add another one, drive D, and so on. Okay. Okay. Then we come into OpenStack. OpenStack is open source cloud operating system. So this will be managing all the OS later on. Okay, the visualization. This open source cloud OS developed by the OpenStack Foundation, designed to manage large pools of virtual private servers in cloud environment. Okay. Support multi-tenant IaaS for both public and private clouds. Okay. You can have, I think, you can see Nextcloud. Okay, this is the open source that you can use. Okay. Built to be simple to deploy and massively scalable. Okay, so widely embedded in cloud solution from Cisco, IBM, HP, and other. So the architecture approach composed of independent modular service, so you can add, you have the primary and then you have the additional service. Okay. Then the modules can be used together for full IaaS capability or independently as required. So the core, you have the core service, provide compute, storage, networking, identity management function, at least the 5. Okay. The 3 storage type in OpenStack: network block storage, object storage, or VM image storage. Okay, so you have 3 different storage that you can manage in the OpenStack. Okay, with several characteristics. For example, network block storage, persistent block device for VM root disk or attachable volumes. Okay, you can read write mountable. When you have a detachable, you can connect, you can disconnect the storage. Object storage stores unstructured objects with metadata. So write once, read many. Okay, so it looks like the what you call CD-ROM. So you write once only and you can read many. So highly durable with redundancy. So depends. Okay, and access control via access control list (ACL). So VM image storage stores bootable VM image for hypervisors and support custom kernel and resizable. So you have 3 types of storage in OpenStack. Okay. Yeah. So how OpenStack is organized? You can see this is the name. Orchestration. You're using heat, identity, keystone, network, neutron, block storage, Cinder, compute, Nova, image, glance, object storage, Swift, Ceilometer for metering, and dashboard is Horizon. Okay, so OpenStack is composed of modular service. This is the module 1, 2, 3, and so on, that interact to deliver a complete IaaS platform. So you can add more network, add more computing, and so on. Okay, yeah. So you have 5 functional group. The first one is computing. Okay, this is Nova. This one. Okay, the complete service, the processing and manage VM's instant, and you have the glance. This also for computing because the OS will be stored there. Okay, image service storing VM templates and this image. Networking only Neutron, so this networking. Storing, you have 2 Swift and Cinder. Object storage and block storage. Okay, you can select which one. So Swift for unstructured data, Cinder for block storage for persistent volume. Okay, so this one will be static. This one used for unstructured data. Okay, the shared surface will be Keystone. Where's the Keystone? Yeah, this one. Identity, Horizon, the dashboard, Ceilometer for metering, for billing, monitoring, Heat is orchestration, and you can have the optional service for containers, big data, messaging, domain names, servers, okay, and so on. So each can be added independently due to OpenStack modular architecture. Okay, so yeah. So this is the OpenStack functional interaction. There are big database here. From Glance, you can connect to Nova Compute, send image to Nova, okay, and authenticate with Keystone. Okay, that's it, only 2. Okay, Horizon dashboard provide UI for Glance, provide UI for Nova, provide UI for Swift, Cinder, a dashboard, everything. Okay, let's see the Neutron network. Okay, Neutron authenticate again with the Keystone. Okay, and then manage also or orchestrate by Heat. Okay, Ceilometer monitor the network usage, and VM provide network connectivity. Okay, so this is an example of mapping from to. So you can see you have map. This is like heat matrix, like confusion matrix. Sorry, glance to glance, horizon to horizon, and so on. Okay. Okay, so the key point from the operation stack interaction metric, this one you can read your own, but you can I will not ask this one by one. Okay, if I need it, then this reference I will provide as the appendix. Okay, if it come out in the final exam. Okay, so you can read this one yourself. This one is highlighted, for example, what you call the Swift and Cinder map to where, okay, and so on. Okay. Okay, let's discuss one by one what Nova does. Nova is the computing, okay? Manage the life cycle of virtual machine instance in an OpenStack cloud, handle provisioning, scheduling, scaling, and decommissioning. If you are no longer use it, then you can decommission. Enables on-demand computing. This is similar to AWS EC2, okay? Support large-scale, redundant, and distributed architecture. How Nova works, it interacts with many hypervisor. You can use KVM, Zen, VMware, Hyper-V, and so on. Does not provide virtualization itself. I use driver to communicate with underlying hypervisor. But you provide the web API for creating, controlling, monitoring VM instance, manage compute aspect, including server, networking, and access control. Okay, the key advantage for Compute Nova is hypervisor agnostic. It doesn't matter whether you are using KVM, Zen, VMware, Hyper-V, okay, and no special requirement. Okay, it can work with all the type of hypervisor. Scale easily to manage large cluster of virtual machine. Okay, scale easily. Okay, because of this one. Okay, and it's essential for delivering IaaS compute capability in public or private cloud. So you can have the big machine, for example, big server, and then you can create so many Nova for public or private. Okay. So the logical architecture for Nova, the Swift object storage interact with Nova for volume creation, attachment, and detachment, supporting persistent storage. So this is basically the main storage. Okay, the main storage that's persistent. That's always there when you turn on the Nova. Then it's there. Okay, the drive is there. It's not gone. Okay, so you have the API server. What's the API server? Yeah, so API server external interface is by dashboard, message queue. Okay, the central communication bus between Nova components. Okay, compute controller manage the lifecycle of VM. Okay, so you have your Nova compute here, the API. This is the database. This is the message queue. This one message queue. Schedule. This schedule. Database. This is the database. Okay, database here. Database here. Okay, and this dashboard. This is connected with the dashboard and so on. Okay, yeah. So then we have the OpenStack image service. Image service is Glance. Okay, so act as the lookup, register, and retrieval system for VM this image. So this is the storage itself. Okay, store and manage image used to launch virtual machine instance, providing centralized catalog of discoverable and reusable VM image. So you can reuse the virtual machine. Okay, because once you are finished configuring the machine, you can replicate, just copy the VM image. Okay, the key function discovering available VM image, so you can have the list, global list, and then you can select to instantiate again in another virtual machine. Registering new image into the catalog, so you see the catalog, retrieving image during instant provisionings, and support multiple block and storage. Okay, or file store, sweep, or CHEP. Okay, how Glance use access through a RESTful API for image upload, download, and queries. Offer an SQL style query interface. Integrate directly with Nova. Okay, why Glance matter? Because ensure consistent version and control image across the cloud, enable rapid deployment, and support large scale. Okay, that's the image service, the Glance. We have network service. The previous one is for storage. Okay, we have computing, storage, and network. Okay, so the Neutron provide network connectivity as a service for OpenStack components, deliver consistent programmable networking layer, exposed through API and dashboard UI. Okay, this is for automation orchestration, so you can run it automatically. Okay, or for UI if you want to create, or admin, you want to create manually. Okay. How Newton work? Newton API server handles request and delegate processing to plug in and support essential virtual networking construct. You have layer 2 virtual LANs, layer 3 routing for as a router. You can add extension as firewall, load balancer, VPN. Firewall and load balancer, you can use Linux, okay, to create a firewall for firewall only and for load balancing only. Or you can have the hardware based, okay, load balancing, okay. VPN, also virtual private network, also you can have the extension for Neutron, okay. Okay, the key benefit, consistent networking model across heterogeneous of VM types, flexible physical underlying integration, and enable automation and orchestration for service level agreement monitoring, workflow engine, and cloud service catalog. Okay. So we have image service glance, and we have also the object storage. This is for unstructured. Yeah, so this is a distributed object storage system, redundant durable storage, multi-petabyte capacity, optimized for static unstructured data such as VM image, backup and archive, email storage, multimedia. Okay, so if you are Netflix server, for example, they will most probably they will use this Swift. Okay, if they use OpenStack. Okay. Does not present traditional file system. It's not you have the file and so on, but store data on object which has metadata in a flat address space. So you have flat address space and you have metadata. So automatically manage replication, fault tolerance, and scaling. So you can have the backup, you have the scaling, you can add more and so on, and provide RESTful API access using a web API. Okay. Integration with other OpenStack service used by Cinder to back up VM block volume, support glance in storing VM image data, ideal for cloud with the high durability and availability. Okay. And Swift matters because it's perfect for workload needing write once and read many access patterns. So not all we need Swift, but the moment you need Swift, then you can guarantee that you can, especially if you fulfill this characteristic, write once and read many. Okay. Okay, we have another storage, this object storage, block storage. Okay, Cinder. Cinder provide persistent block storage volume, behave like virtual hard drive that can be attached, detached, expanded, snapshot. Okay, designed for workload requiring reliable, low latency storage, for example, database, file system, VM root disk. Okay, the core function of Cinder: create and manage volume, volume type, and snapshot. Support volume backup using Swift as the backend. Then ensure data persistence independent of VM life cycle. Depends whether you are creating you are another VM, but the data is still there. Okay. Integration with other OpenStack service, Nova use Cinder volume as this. For instance, Swift can store backup of Cinder volume. This is using Swift, and this one used by Nova. Okay, the computing. Okay. Work with multiple backends, LVM, CHAP, CSI, NFS, enterprise storage arrays, so you can work with other service. Okay, it's enable data durability, support rich storage workflow, cloning, migration, snapshot, and other things. Okay. Okay. This is additional service, which is the keystone. They provide the identity, so you need to verify the identity. Okay, so you can see here the step: launch VM, find service, check credential, and then launch VM. The client asks to launch VM. Okay, then you check the keystone. Then after that, the Nova scheduler, the computing scheduler will launch VM, and also will schedule the VM to run. Receive launch VM message. Is it okay or not? Then you go to number 5, 6. Yeah, request the image of the virtual machine. Find the service, check credential, request image. Is it allowable or not? Look up the image from the glance registry. Okay, return location or and metadata of that image. Okay, then request the image. 10, then 11, find service, check credential, request image. Again, go to Keystone again. Okay, get the image from the Swift proxy. Get the image here. Okay, you from this one, you from Swift Worker and get the image here and launch VM. So you can see 14 step from the client request until it's actual running. Okay. The Keystone matters because it provides single unified security layer. So anything you need to verify the security, you go to Keystone. So that's why you can see the arrow keep coming back to the Keystone. Okay. So ensure secure interaction among Nova. So because you need to verify this client, what is the level, how much he pay already. So what is his privilege and so on. So it need to be stored in the Keystone here. Okay. Yeah, so enable multi-tenant, so you can have a multi-user, not only you can use for one organization, you can use for multiple organization. Role-based cloud operation, you can use also admin and other roles, okay, database manager and so on, you can use. So database manager, for example, it has different access privilege. Admin, it has access privilege. Normal user, it has different access privilege. Okay, so for example, normal user cannot launch VM, for example. Okay, only admin. Then when normal user want to launch PM, then it will be rejected here. Get the message and it will be rejected. Okay. Yeah. So identity management. The Keystone has the core function identity management, authentic user and determine their roles and permissions. Role-based access control. Role-based access control here. Okay. So you have uh, user, user map to the role, and then role map to the permission, to the access. Okay, so user to the role, because user can have multiple role, can be the normal user, can be also as admin, can be as database. So depends on user, they are behaving like which role, and the role then connect to the access, what are the permission and so on. Okay. Token service issue temporary tokens after login. Service catalog, and then what are the service available for that particular user, and policy enforcement, what the privilege that the user have. Okay, then you can see that the apply fine-grained access control rules, defining what each role is allowed to do. This one, role, and then access. What is the access there? Okay. Okay, the other service, Horizon for dashboard, Ceilometer for monitor orchestration for heat. Okay, so dashboard is graphical interface used by admin user to provision, configure, and automate. Extensible design allow integration of billing, monitoring, interact with all OpenStack API to launch instant, assign IPs. This is IPs. Okay, assign IP address and configure access control. Okay. Ceilometer provide metering and telemetry for resource usage, support for billing, benchmarking, scaling, decision, statistical analysis. Orchestration for automation, automates deployment of multi-component cloud application. Okay. Use template file, infrastructure as a code to manage full lifecycle of resource, launch stack of VM, and compatible with our AWS cloud formation. Okay. Okay, now the last part here is you have now end-to-end OpenStack workflow, how to launch a VM. Okay, previously we have 14 step. Okay, so you can see we can see here 6 step. So the first one is user access. It check the login. Okay, check the credential. Okay, then Keystone return a token for service catalog. Token means what is the and the service catalog. Okay, token mean how long you can use and so on, or what first features that you can use. Then instant creation using Nova. Okay, Nova console glance, flavor, and scheduler. And then networking setup using Neutron. Storage provisioning, computing, networking, storage. Then monitoring orchestration, Ceilometer or heat. Then after that, VM is ready. Okay, so this is the end-to-end OpenStack workflow from the launching until the VM ready. Okay, we have other optional service. So the OpenStack has many other options that you can plug in there. Okay, so you have, for example, Trove, database as a service, Zakor messaging service. Okay, security and governance, Barbican, key management, Congress for policy as a service. This is another term. Okay, you might not use all, but this is some options that is available in OpenStack. Sahara for elastic map reduce. Okay, deploy and scale Hadoop cluster. Manila Shared File System, Container Bare Metal and DNS, Magnum, Container Ironic Bare Metal, designate DNS as a service. Okay, application service, you have also Murano, you have application catalog that you can use. publish cloud-ready application. This is nice. Cloud-ready application in browsable and deployable catalog. Okay, so the key takeaway for this OpenStack, the OpenStack allow the cloud provider to extend, specialize, customize to match specific operational need. Okay, so this the OpenStack. Okay. Okay, what else? Yeah, this the last one for OpenStack. Yeah, this is the summary. The core versus optional service. The core offers compute, networking, storage, and you have shared service. Okay. Optional, you have data messaging, security, big data analytic, application platform, infrastructure, and so on. Okay. So you can survive with this, and then you can extend with the optional extended service. Okay. Okay. So the last 8 minutes, I will discuss a bit on IoT. Is there any question before I move on?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So this one maybe this is the knowledge only. The of course
Is
when
it
you
on the
want
same chapter, Prof?
say again.
Same chapter, all these?
Yes. Yeah. This same chapter, the last chapter. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's more continue the IoT. Then I think we can leave the other section next week. Okay. The IoT, I think you have this term already. So the IoT Internet of Things is a massive evolving network interconnected smart device, include appliance, industrial machine, wearables, sensors, vehicles, and other things. Okay. So the most impactful revolution in computing and communication. So you have computing communication. So how IT works, you have device embed short range wireless transceiver. So you can use Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, low energy, BLE, Zigbee, low range, LoRa. Okay. The object communicate between people and things. So you are using the handphone or things with things. Okay. So you are communicating between vehicles and so on. Okay. So or communicating between your smartwatch and phone, for example. There's things to things. Okay. So that how to relate with the cloud? The data is typically sent to the cloud. Okay, enabling large-scale monitoring, control, and analytics. So you can see that when you have, for example, Samsung or iPhone or Xiaomi, you have the health application that track your step. Okay, how many steps that you have walked okay, today. That one you can monitor. Okay. So why IoT matters? Because there are more things than peoples. Connect billion of devices worldwide. Power smart homes, smart cities, Industry 4.0, healthcare monitoring, agriculture automation, transport system, and so on. Okay, this enable real-time data collection and system-wide optimization. There are two types of IoT device: low bandwidth embedded sensor. This most common. So predict data, minimal traffic. So just a bit. So you are measuring the temperature every 5 minutes, for example. Okay. And you have high bandwidth device, video surveillance, cameras, VoIP, or video phones. So this is the high bandwidth device. Okay. This is the evolution of toward the IoT. First, the infant technology, you have PC, server, router, firewall, processed by enterprise IT team, primary wired connectivity at that time. Okay. Then we have OT, operational technology, embedded IT inside industrial machine system. We have medical device, SCADA, supervisory control device, process control, and kiosk. Okay, processed by operational technology engineers, still mostly wired. Then we have personal technology, smartphone, tablet, ebook readers, consumer driven. This wireless first, multiple wireless technology. So this is the evolution toward the IoT. Then we have sensor and actuator technology. Sensor and actuator in the same package. Okay. We have billion of small single-purpose embedded device used by consumer, IT, and OT teams, exclusively wireless. Normally, okay, we don't connect using the wired. Okay, usually one communication method integrated into larger smart system, home, factories, or cities. Okay, the core component of IoT-enabled device. We have sensor that measure physical, chemical, biological parameters. The output can be analog or digital. Enable data collection from the environment. Actuator receive electronic command from a controller, produce physical action like movement, heat, light flow, and so on. So enable device to interact with and modify the environment. So you can actuator means the output you want to turn the relay, for example, and you want to turn the siren and speaker. That's the actuator. Okay. Microcontroller is the smart part of the IT device, process sensor data, execute logic, control actuator, and then embedded firmware for device operation. Transceiver is the communication, handles wireless communication, Wi-Fi, Zigbee, BLE, LoRa, and so on. Enable device to transmit data to gateway or the cloud. Okay, and RFID technology used radiowave for identifying tracking. You have, for example, touch and go, text, and the readers. Okay, so it depends whether you can move high speed, low speed, depends on the frequency and the power of the readers. Okay. So how IoT in the cloud context, okay, how it fit into the cloud, okay? The key idea, IoT operates across multiple interconnected network layer, each with different scale, technologies, and response time requirements. Smart thing network we have on the edge layer, okay, this one. Okay, million of small device, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, wireless sensor, millisecond response time, first point of data generation. Then we have fog network. This is fog network. Okay, you connected, you compile into one fog network. Tens of, this is million, this is 10 of thousand of device using the 3G, 4G, 5G, Wi-Fi, distributed intelligent for real-time processing, reduce load on the cloud. Okay, then we have core network. Okay, service provider network, 1,000. This is 10 of 1,000. This is 1,000 only of router switch. So this is backbone for transporting IoT data to application. Then we have data center. This is the cloud coming in. Okay, from the multiple sensor that we have, from the data, we have the big data. Then we can send to the data center. Then we can analyze, run some analytics, some dashboard, some AI, and so on. Okay. So it's so that how IoT device rely on edge. This is closer to the one that we measure. Fog, core, cloud architecture. Okay, the perform different from millisecond edge to transactional cloud processing. Okay, it's demonstrates how enterprise IoT system scale from million of device, okay, to small number power full cloud system. Okay, yeah. So let's see. Yeah, I think I've let me finish this one. Okay, edge. Then we move to the other things. Okay, the IoT. Maybe I need another 5 minutes. Okay. So what happened at the edge? Remember the edge is the one that's closer to the device. It consists of IoT-enabled device such as sensor and actuator. So device might communicate with each other. You can use peer-to-peer or cluster, okay, peer-to-peer, okay, or you are clustering. And a group sensor may send data to an aggregate sensor before forwarding or upward. It's similar like we have earlier. Okay, there are so many sensors you can send here, and then from here to send to the others to the server. Okay. The role of gateways, the connect IoT device to higher level network, and you have the gateway here. Okay, you have one gateway, multiple IoT. Okay, connect IoT device to higher level network, the fog, cloud, or cloud, perform protocol translation, handle basic data processing. You can do filtering or aggregation. You aggregate, you collect all the data. So improve efficiency by reducing raw data flowing to upstream system. So only one point. Rather than you are small, you connect to many things. You just combine here, combine in here, and then you connect in one go to the next step. Okay. So this first point of data generation enable local intelligence. You can even have what you call actuate something on the edge level. Okay. And the fog IoT system generate massive data volumes. For example, refineries, terabyte per day, airplanes, terabyte per hour. Okay, you generate the data. So sending everything to the cloud is inefficient. So fog computing perform processing near the sensor, reducing bandwidth, storage, and latency. Key fog operation, we have 5. The first one is evaluation, whether data should go upstream or not. Number 2, formatting, standards data for high-level processing. Okay, you have different timestamp, date, and you need to harmonize, you need to unify. Okay, then decoding and expanding, add context, origin of metadata interpretation, so that you know that this is timestamp from which sensor and so on, so that you can analyze, okay, later on. Distillation reduction, summarize or compress to reduce load. If it is produce the same data, maybe you can reduce one. Okay, assessment, detect threshold, alert, and redirect data when necessary. Okay, the characteristic is close to edge device, offload heavy processing from central cloud system. So address IoT challenge, security, privacy, capacity limit, and low latency. So you have the edge, okay, collection of the edge, and you have the fog, okay. So it's closer to the device, okay. Or this more a bit powerful, this is less powerful, and so on, okay. So the cloud later on the upper level will be the cloud, centralized large-scale processing for fewer user, fog distributed processing for millions of smart device at the edge, okay. So you can see the interface here. Yeah. The core network, again, the core network is the backbone. Connect graphically dispersed fog network. Use high performance routers and high capacity links. So you need to connect that using high capacity links. Provide redundancy through multiple interconnected routers. So redundancy like this. Okay. If one is failed, then you can route to others. Okay. You can route here, or you can route like this if it is down, and so on. Okay. Yeah, so may connect to large database server and private cloud facilities. Some routers are internal only. The cloud network offer massive storage, powerful processing. Host application to manage IT device, analyze sensor data. This is for the cloud network, okay, in the cloud. Okay, support large scale data analytics because everything at the end combined into the cloud. Okay, multiple here, connect here, connect here. At the end is very large. Okay. So the core and cloud role, the core will provide the connection here, provide the connection. Together provide the backbone intelligence that transform edge. I remember the 5G network, it need to respond by 1 millisecond. Okay, so this for latency should be less than 1 millisecond, so it'll be very fast. So when you decide, when you smart car connected to the 5G, there's some camera, send the data to the server, processing here, posting the result, is there any collision or not, then should be within 1 millisecond should be finished. Okay. Okay, so this is the last page for this section. The difference between cloud and fog. Remember, the cloud is the top one, and you have fog, and you have the edge. Okay. Processing storage will be on the center. This is on the edge. Latency is high because you need to send latency low is closer. Okay, this fixed or wireless. This is mainly wireless, so you can use cable here. Not applicable for mobility because centralized. Where is your data center? And that's the location. Fog can be moved. Control centralized hierarchical. This is distributed. Service access through core, the backbone network. This one at the edge or handheld device. Availability is highly available. This is highly volatile, highly redundant. Depends. Okay, it can because it's mobile and it's maybe the availability is not as high as the cloud. Okay, number of user 10 of 100 million. This is 10 of billions. Okay, generators will be human. This one will be device sensor. Central. This is anywhere. End device is anywhere. Software will be central enterprise, and this one will be user device. Okay. Yeah, so you can see this the different locational latency, high latency, low latency for the fog. Control, this is full centralized, this is distributed control, so million, this is 10 of billions. Okay, data currency, this human generated, this one will be sensor generated. Okay, mobility, not mobility aware. This one support mobile dynamic real-time environment. Infrastructure, enterprise server, this one user device. Okay. Yeah, so I'll stop here. Okay, any question before I stop?